This fan like the Ghost. This is our continuing series of song deconstructions. And we're going to talk about a song I wrote called Street Friend Fiend or Freak. And this was a song that basically is talking about the addiction problem with fentanyl that people are having in the around the world, and we lost Prince, and we've lost other great artists because of things like this, and it's basically my attempt to talk about it through my alter ego Josephine Electric. This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and Phantom Electric Ghost is my electronic music band, and I'm really just a one-person band, and I use vocoders to create characters such as the Phantom Electric Ghost or Josephine Electric, and I do what I call expansive sound music, which is a combination of like Sun Ra type jazz with progressive rock, kind of Genesis type synthesis, with a little bit of spoken word type of lyricism that could come from Dylan or Conor Oberst or Neil Young. It's just I try to mix electronic music with the tradition of like singer-songwriters. So I try to develop stories through the music. It's not just club bangers or songs that are designed for like a rave or EDM audience. I'm kind of going and pulling from the progressive rock genre and using a lot of techniques to present these ideas into a genre that I call expansive sound. And so expansive sound is we use electronic instruments, but we use a lot of analog instruments like Moogs. We have a Moog Mother 32 semi-modular synthesizer, a Moog drummer from another mother, which is an analog drum machine. And we're using Make Noise products such as their Morphogene and their Math module, as well as our Arturia Mini Brute 2S. So in combination with all these things, we have a System 1M, we have a Juno GI, and a JDXI synth. And so we take all these synths and we don't use a DAW. We use digital recorders and sequencers. So I have an Arturia BeatStep Pro as a sequencer. I have a Zoom R16 and a Zoom R24 digital recorder. And I use these recorders to capture the synthesizer directly. And so I don't get compression. I don't get degradation in the signal. And so I'm able to take these ideas right from the synths and implement them. And then I, record them, and I use landar.com on the final master. I do initial mastering on the Zoom R24 using the mastering capability of the Zoom. And then I do a final master on Landar. And then I publish on a lot of different streaming services. So we previously had a show on an app called Experiment where we interview indie artists around the world. We're going to be interviewing the band Heritage from Bermuda. Wednesday, we're going to interview an artist named Kendra Black, who worked with Snoop Dogg. She has a song called Rude that she sings with Snoop Dogg. We had interviewed these two bands or artists on Experiment, but now Experiment isn't supporting the audio. They're doing just video now. So we switched to this new platform, Anchor. And what's cool about Anchor is like the song that we're talking about, this one about the scourge of fentanyl abuse, is a segment on this particular podcast. It's the second part of it. And so you're able to do a recording of a conversation that you can have, with your audience that you can set up, and then you can have a segment of your own song or somebody else's song. And so the song, getting back to that, is out there on Spotify. It's on Apple Music, and you'll be able to hear the full version of it after this conversation. And it was constructed using that hardware workflow, and it has some different type of aspects than what you hear on a lot of music today. I kind of reach back to the old school days of analog synthesis. In using the Moogs, you get a sound that you can't get from a module. Just because analog synths have a character, sometimes you can only capture at point in time. And so I am looking forward to some other Moog products that they introduced at Moog Fest this year. One of the things is the Grand Mother. And since I actually have a Mother 32 and a drummer from another Mother, the Grand Mother is Moog's new synth that allows you to take their modules and link it to a central control system, which is the Grand Mother, that has a keyboard. And not only does it have a keyboard, the Grand Mother is a semi-modular synth with a keyboard that still has a controlled voltage implementation that allows you to connect to your racks. It is using oscillators from the Model D, which is the famous Mini Moog. It is using other modules that come from their modular line that goes back to the late 60s, early 70s. It has a full analog physical spring reverb that we haven't seen in a Moog for years. And it also has the ability to produce a sine wave when you use the filter, which is, we haven't seen a sine wave since like the Model 3355s or even the System 1s, which is cool. So even though it technically says it only has two oscillators, you can use the LFO as a third oscillator. And then you can also use the filter to produce a sine wave, so you actually can get four voices out of it. And that is actually more than what you could get out of a Mini Moog. And because it has the controlled voltage implementation of a patch bay, you can link this to your Eurorack. You could bring in a Moog DFAM and Mother 32. You could stack them together and basically recreate a system that would have a lot to do with the old, Model 15s or 33s or 55s. It allows you to build a full modular system that you could, use Moog products, or you can add additional products like Arturia or Make Noise or Pittsburgh Modular or any of the other great modules from other companies, including Roland and their System 500, which is a recreation of their System 100, which is another masterpiece that I want to get into my workflow. In the future, we're going to be talking about the Akai MPCX and how you could integrate that and use that instead of a DAW into your workflow when you're creating music. The Prophet X, which is the new generation Prophet that uses samples from ADO along with DCO oscillators, two DCOs. And then the Korg Prologue, which is an awesome analog synth, and you'd have to make a choice between the Prophet, which is a different type of thing because it's using samples. But, maybe the Rev 2 versus like the Prologue, or even like, going back to like a Prophet 6 is probably more true comparison. So if you took a Prophet 6, or you take the combination of what they did with like an OB6. So if you take a Prophet OB6, which is really an Oberheim product that they brought back. So an OB6 versus a Prologue is maybe a good comparison to see, like, would you want the OB6 or would you want the Prologue? The Prologue has some capabilities that the OB6 doesn't have. The OB6 is the old school, capability that Oberheim had that, probably nobody else you can't really get from anybody else in terms of how it's set up. So we're going to talk about all these synths in the future, and I hope you enjoy the song, and we'll talk to you later.